Welcome to the Century 21 Leading Edge podcast, where our mission is to give back and provide value to the industry that has been so amazing to all of us. We do this by keeping realtors and the public up to date on what's going on in our industry, growing our collective knowledge as professionals, and most importantly, by giving realtors and brokers everywhere the tools necessary to bring their business to an unprecedented level. Welcome to Century 21 Leading Edge 14th podcast. Can you guys believe it? We've done 14 of these things.
Seems like yesterday we just started.
Absolutely. I'm Paul Barron. I'm the broker of record, Century 21 Leading Edge. Welcome. And to my right,
Anthony Bungaro, broker at Century 21 Leading Edge.
And I'm Tassis Janakakis, and I'm also at Century 21 Leading Edge.
There you go. So what are we going to talk about tonight, guys?
Real estate, presumably, right?
Okay. So what's going on in real estate?
I guess the hot topic for realtors anyways has been changes to REBA, Real Estate and Business Brokers Act, for those of you that don't know what REBA is. So recently we had some announcements that that is being revisited and amended and has some interesting changes that are coming up hopefully soon.
Very good, very good. What have you heard from the troops on this, Anthony? You heard anything?
Yes, I have. They sort of got the tidbit of information that, hey, great, I can incorporate, I can get my monies paid to my corporation. And I say, yeah, but this may take time. And I think this might be part of the discussion to realize, my understanding is it's been approved, but there are necessary steps to get it finalized, and there might be a time element, and I understand it could be over a year or so.
Could be years, actually. I'll give you some definitive data on this, and also really we need to ask our agents to actually help in this process. Yep. So Bill 145 is called the Trust in Real Estate Services Act 2019. And it was introduced on November 9th, 2019, and has now been moved to the next but critical step. The legislation, which replaces the Real Estate and Business Brokers Act, represents a significant move forward for realtors and results in numerous years of efforts by TREB, OREA, and other real estate boards and associations. So this is basically bringing forward the standards to raise professionalism, strengthen consumer protection, and create a stronger business environment for Ontario realtors. So on Monday, November 25th, the Bill 145 passed its second reading in Parliament. The Minister Lisa Thompson and the New Democratic critic Tom Rakonovic, speaking on behalf of their respective parties, there was also very complimentary of the commitment by TREB, OREA, and realtors for the work that we've put into improving this act. Now, here's what I'm going to ask for you guys to do. It's not completely done yet. As Anthony mentioned, when you look at REBA 2002, I think it wasn't enacted until like 2006 or 7. So that took 4 or 5 years, but that was a major overhaul to the Real Estate and Business Brokers Act. We're hoping that this one will be passed in the next year or two, but it could be as many as 3 years from now. Now, what we also need to do is we need to get our MPPs involved in this. And I'm going to send out the email that I'm reading here, which is a link to actually have you contact your MPP and support the legislation until it becomes law. So we need to send these emails by clicking on this link, and
and it's very simple to do. I've done it, Paul, and I've sent it out. So it's not like you guys have to write a letter. You simply click on the link. The letter is already written for you. As long as you put in your home address, it will send it to the proper MP, mm-hmm. and it's just saying that you're asking them to support this bill. So it's very simple to do, and everybody should be doing it.
Absolutely, and it is critical to do because this will have to go through its third and final reading before it's enacted. So we want to keep that process moving, and I guess we should talk about the key components to it. So I guess the first one is the incorporation of agents. And a lot of people have said, this will eliminate the need for the sub-brokers and that kind of setup. And certainly the people that have already set that up, there are some additional advantages to that scenario. The other thing is that, you know, we look at legislation like this and then people start thinking, oh, every real estate agent is going to be incorporated, right? And the truth is that just like the sub-brokerage, it really requires you to have money left at the end of the day before it makes sense to go ahead and do this. So we have already actually started with a couple of accountants, and we have a session that's happening this week, is it?
December 5th. If I'm not, yeah, it is.
This week on Thursday. Yeah,
on Thursday,
yeah. And that is on tax planning and stuff like that. That's not about Bill 145, correct?
Correct, but given the timing of this, I'm sure that that's going to be one of the topics. I know it's going to be one of the topics just because it's obviously top of mind for all of the realtors. And will play a role in their business planning, right? If not this year, in the future, hopefully.
Yeah. The other thing that is interesting in this bill is they talked about eliminating the dual agency. You know, you look at smaller markets where there's not a lot of agents and you're really limiting consumers' choice, right? If I want to deal with Anthony on both ends of the deal, I should be able to do that. So they are not going to be eliminating that, but they are looking at eliminating the customer service component of things. So we look at a client where they're under a BRA or under a listing agreement. And then the other scenario is a customer service agreement where we give them limited responsibilities.
They're looking
right?
at doing away with that?
They're looking at doing away with that, and you either are represented by an agent or you're self-represented. So they're looking at eliminating that.
Would that cause more multiple rep perhaps?
It possibly could, right?
So when someone calls off your listing, they see the property, they want to see it, and by not giving them representation under a client contract, you could choose to explain to them how it works and treat them as a customer. So if it is eliminated, it would either be multiple, or you're saying they could be
Self-represented.
So that's a different arena.
And I think that the reason that they're getting rid of this
Yeah.
is that the consumer is confused,
Yeah.
right? What is a difference between a client and a customer? Ask somebody that. Now, ask an agent. They should be able to, you know, demonstrate that to a person, but the consumers are confused. So
I think what they found with that, Anthony, was that a lot of people that were under customer service believed that they had representation, and really they didn't, right? So I think that what their goal is to clarify that to the public, so the public understands this is what I'm actually receiving from the realtor, right?
And I'm just wondering, and I don't want to confuse the issue, Paul, and we could just see, but there has been the odd occasion where a solicitor has contacted the listing agent and said, I'm representing the clients. Have you not found that as well? But again, is that going to be clarified or part of this, or who knows?
No, I think that, you know, in the act,
happening.
it does allow for a solicitor to represent clients in a real estate transaction. That currently is with REBA 2002 is legal. It's unusual, but it is legal. Okay. So I don't think that will change.
Okay.
One of the other things that is going to be a major change is the increase in penalties. So this is important to pay attention to. So the proposed increase is to increase the fine for agents to $50,000, right?
Up to $50,000.
Yeah, up to $50,000, and $100,000 for the brokerage for violations. So I don't know why that works out that way. Yeah. So it's up to $100,000 for us and up to $50,000 for the agent.
And I understand, not that I agree with it, but is this regarding what? If there is something that was a complaint or something that was fraudulent, so when they go to a RICO hearing, you're saying part of this is they want to up the penalties? Is that what it is?
I think that what happens in the industry, Anthony, is that a lot of times the realtors that are giving the industry a bad name look at minor fines as a cost of doing business.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to break the law, and this is unfortunate to say, but this is the reality of it. So I'm very much in favor of higher fines because it's going to take it out of the realm of a cost of doing business. If you're going to do something that is horrible and you're going to get a slap on the wrist, you're going to say, okay, I take my slap and I move on. So I think that they're trying to increase that so that we can really clean up the industry. And I think this is good for all of us,
No,
right?
It's important to understand.
Yeah, and obviously important for us to pay attention to what our agents are doing. You know, it's also interesting when you look at some of the business models out there, right? And the implications of that in the industry. When you look at these large brokerages that have very small fees and they're really not supervising agents. You look at some of these new companies that are coming to town, EXP is an example, where everything is in a virtual world. And I guess the bottom line is there will be no virtual fines, right? If you break
I think the
rules,
fines will be real for sure.
right. If you break the rules, the fines will be real. So I think
across the
that's important.
I agree with you, Paul. I think it does put some more onus on brokerages to, make sure that their realtors are operating properly. And I think even from the brokerage end, when we're looking at a potential fine of $100,000, if you know somebody is in that gray area, you're either going to correct them or you're going to get rid of them, right? And I think that that's not a bad thing. And I think it'll definitely be more of a challenge in companies that have a different model where there really is zero or limited supervision of the realtor, right? So the realtors are kind of running wild, so to speak, and nobody's watching over them. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The other thing that they're looking at is, and this is a controversial issue, and they haven't ironed out all the details on this yet, but the way that we deal with multiple offers. Should we be disclosing to all of the clients what the other bids are?
So this is what the talk is about?
There is conversation on how are we going to deal with that. We should leave it the way it is, right? And I think that the bottom line is that no matter how you do it, right, there's controversy. And the reason that there's controversy, and this is, in my view, you've got 8 offers. The problem is 7 people don't get the house.
Correct.
So it does not matter how you disclose the price, right? There's still 7 people. That's right.
7 people upset.
That's right. Right. So what we need our agents to do is to go get more listings. Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that is
Be in the
the
driver's
bottom
seat.
line, right? Is that, they look at changing the act to deal with these challenges, but really the government's intervention should be on easing up on construction costs, permits,
Development fees.
That would be a good topic.
We've had people that one of our agents went to try to develop I think a 25-unit apartment building. And what were you saying the development fees?
Somewhere between $600,000 and $800,000.
$600,000 and $800,000 for a $3 million project. So you're looking at 30%, 25-30% in development fees. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that the problem has been for a long time supply. That's the bottom line. There is not enough supply of properties. And I think that the fees that the government has on development is just making it that much more difficult and just pushing the affordability higher and higher, right? So it's a challenge for sure.
It is a challenge. So I'm going to give a quick preview of our wines tonight.
Oh yes, I've already been drinking mine.
You've already been drinking yours. So this week is the year-end party for Century 21 Leading Edge.
Where's the time go, Paul?
Where does the time go? Another year has come and gone almost. And what we're doing tonight is we're actually trying 3 wines that are earmarked for the next 3 years of our year-end party. And it's interesting that people just think, I just call or I go to the LCBO and I grab these wines. It's not the case. So when you look at, not looking for any kudos or sympathy, but the idea is that there's a lot of work that goes into finding a wine that is suitable and then doing the tour in order to get enough of it so that I can supply it to the
for that
party.
big a party. Yeah.
And when you look at the red wine, we actually, it takes 12 cases or 144 bottles of red wine is what we use at the last couple of years at the party. Wow. So the first one that we're going to give a try to here is a Monroso, which is a Tuscan red blend from Toscana. And this is obviously a main grape is the Sangiovese, and it's a blend. So they've got some other grapes in there as well. So that's the glass on your left. So have a look at that and give it a go. Very nice. Your thoughts, sir?
When you mentioned it's a blend, it's a wonderful blend. That's my thought. No, the flavor is good.
It's great. It's fantastic.
It's kind of flavorful. If that's
Very nice. Okay, and I'm going to just talk about the second one that we're going to try. And the second one is a Serlapo. So this is a Chianti Classico Reserva. So that's going to be 100% Sangiovese grape. And that is the glass on your right. So give that one a try. We're sort of moving. No, your glass on your right. Did you move them around?
No, I already drank that one. Hold on. This is the one I was drinking already.
Oh, you
Did I switch them up?
Oh my, there we go.
I'm so confused, but
So is the taller glass the first one that we had, Paul?
I don't know which glass, but you should be able to actually. I'm not going to drink your wine, Tass, but that is your second wine, I believe.
Yeah, I think so too. Because I already started drinking the first one.
Yeah.
So how
they
would you
are like
compare
this.
that?
This is
I
the first one, the second one.
I prefer your language. Now, how do you compare that to that?
Well, you know what? It is both great wines. Obviously, all the wines that we're serving at the year-end party are great wines.
Deeper, a bit.
I find the second one has a little bit more taste, right? A bolder taste, I should say.
Yeah.
Deeper, darker, more.
Yep. Yep. It is both excellent wines, and I will tell you that we have the first one is earmarked for this year. The Serlapo, which I actually love, but it's really a little bit young and not quite ready to drink, right? But just delicious. I actually have already opened a few bottles of those, as I have to do in order
I think it's more than
to
ready.
make sure
I think it's ready, Paul.
properly taste it and be sure. So that will be next year's wine. And the one that we won't try yet is, and this is for the producers from Vendetta, is I couldn't get a Chateau Neuf, but I did get a Rhone wine. So the third one that we have here for 2022 is a Côte de Rhone, which is from the Rhone Valley as well. Wow. Not Chateau Neuf, but a Côte de Rhone. And we'll wait till we've tried these, and then we'll give that one a try. It's also a little bit too young to drink. That's why it's earmarked for 2022. So enjoy.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the market and what's going on in the office, how we can get people motivated, working. You know, it's an interesting time of year. How are you guys finding things? Slow? Busy?
It's interesting what you said, Paul, because I think people a lot of times falsely convince themselves that things are not happening. And I say that because just today we were talking with one of the realtors at Winford, and he says, oh, what's going on? I said, the snow usually slows things down. And he says, it's funny because the busiest month he has ever had in his entire career was a December, where he did 12 deals in the month of December. And he said, if you asked me that before, I would have said, no, what are you talking about? Nobody's buying real estate in December. But it was the best month he's ever had, and he's been with us for 15 years. So, it's not to say, okay, this just was a fluke, right? And he said he just didn't know better. He was, he needed to work, and he even said, so I needed the money at the time, so I was just working more. And lo and behold, did 12 deals in the month of December, right?
What's interesting when you think about it, if somebody is out looking at houses in December,
They are motivated.
they are motivated.
Yeah.
They've sold their house.
Yeah.
They're homeless,
Yeah.
which is obviously a situation that we have to rectify.
Yeah.
And that's when the motivated people are out
Yeah.
there. And you think about it, houses are decorated to the nth degree. They look great. It's a
And if
great
people
time.
are going on the market in December, it's the same thing, right? If someone's coming on the market in December, and you're the realtor showing that property, you're thinking, well, the fact that they just came on the market in December means they're motivated, because why wouldn't they wait till after the holidays,
And
right?
you know, Tash, you have a motivated seller and you have motivated buyers, as you mentioned. What a perfect opportunity. And that's not the first time I've heard of that, and I've experienced it even in my sale days, that I've had my best months in December. But just to click it to today in our company and what I've seen, there's going to be the moral of the story. So we had one particular property in Pickering, and it was a condo, high-rise condo, and we've talked from time to time that that's the affordable factor, and there's the hot market. So the sales in the building, it was a 2-bedroom in the Durham area, and the sales in that area are in around 510, 5.25. There was one high sale at 535. So the sellers wanted, well, let's try 549.9, 550. Sold in multiple offers at 571. So where am I going with it? There was no listings in the building. So what I've learned in real estate is the theory of supply and demand. If there's no listings, there's an opportunity there. Now, in residential resale, single family dwelling or townhomes or whatever, when you look at what's happened, I've noticed, and it's just my finger on the pulse, that you were right, Tass, there's a lot of people, Christmas is coming, it's snowed outside, it's cold, things are slow. But why is it, and it might be just because I'm hands-on, I'm like the courier, picking up piles of transactions in the last few weeks, like a dozen deals at a time to bring here to accounting. And you could say, it's a quiet time, the deals are piled in. But there is a shortage, I know that's blunt language, but a shortage of listings. Yeah. So if you were to give advice, it sounds like old protocol, get the listings. Because, and we had CMHC in, and the predictions are it'll be a good, strong, stable market. There's a lot of people, brokerages, etc., and myself saying, next year is going to be a good year. It's a balanced market, and prices might go up, pretty good, maybe 4% or 3.7%, which there's nothing wrong with that. But my gut feeling is if we still continue to be a little light on listings as we get into the new year, and we're short of listings, there are buyers out there.
Yep.
Interest rates are low. I think you'll find that prices might go up more than the prediction. Yep. So that's kind of the way I see it.
Yeah.
An opinion. That's all it is.
No,
an
I
opinion.
agree.
Absolutely.
Supply is low for sure.
Yeah. So it's interesting too is that, when we look at people analyzing the real estate market, who tends to analyze it a lot is the people in the stock business. And they always seem to analyze, these are the ones that write the stories about the bubble.
The bubble.
And I'm not somebody that can predict the future like Anthony. Anthony knows what's happening in the market. He's got his finger on the pulse. I can't predict it, but I do know that the fundamentals of undersupply, huge amount of buyers, low interest rates, these are all things that don't translate into a bubble bursting. So I really don't see that happening in the GTA myself. The other thing that's interesting is that the stock gurus tend to predict this to try to scare people into the stock business.
Yep.
Now, if we look at what bubble might burst, it might be the stock business. So I guess we should start analyzing the stock market, which I don't do either.
No,
but
thanks.
there's lots of volatility there as well. The other thing that's interesting when you look is you look at the indicators, right? So we have jobs have gone down a little bit. The economy is slowing a little bit.
Yeah.
And what that does, though, is it really puts pressure to lower interest rates.
Right.
And I think that our Fed is reluctant to reduce interest rates because of the fear of what it's going to do to the real estate market.
Yeah.
So really, the real estate market is a huge factor in our economy. You look at a sale of a house, you look at the renovations, the
Spin-offs.
appliances, the furniture, all the stuff that's related. It is a huge part of the market and the economy.
Yeah.
And the fact that there really is that pressure to put interest rates down, I don't think that they're going to do that, and they haven't yet, but they're certainly not going up. Right? And the status quo means that things continue. I will give you guys some numbers for October. We may actually, depending on when we post this podcast, we may publish some numbers for December on the bottom of this podcast. If you look down here, here's where the December numbers are, but I will tell you what the October numbers are. And again, they went from 74.48 in October 2018 to 84.91 in October 2019. The average price went from 807 to 852. So a $45,000 increase in the average home price in 1 year. This real estate is no wonder people keep buying the damn stuff. It's a good investment.
You'll need a roof over your head, so do it.
They do. So I think that, we look at the factors that are out there. It's a strong real estate market. Yeah. We've also had a few banks. RBC put out a forecast. They're forecasting about a 3.7% increase. Now, you feel that forecast is a little bit light, Anthony?
I think
what is Bungaro forecasting on
the Bungaro forecast?
The Bungaro
I think
forecast.
The 3.7 is a little bit light now, and not just to say look at what happened from 1 month last year to this month.
Yeah.
But I'm basing it again on the low interest rates, the generally a good economic situation. The unemployment is pretty good; it's very low, and the issue of the supply and demand that I see happening.
Yeah.
So if that kind of stage continues, even over the first quarter or the first half a year, which is quite conceivable, then I don't think there's going to be a 3.7% increase. We could be more into a 5 or 7% increase in prices next year. But again, I don't have a crystal ball.
Was that 5 to 7? Is that
5 to 7, yeah.
5 to
We're going to
7.
quote you on that.
Well,
5 to 7. So we'll look at
We'll look at that and say, was he ever out to lunch, or he was right? It's only one way or the other.
Please come back to podcast number 24 and or 26, and we'll know if your number is right, Anthony.
There you go. So the other thing that is interesting, I was down in Texas at my T3 group, and we have a little sneak preview on the trends report, just looking at what's happening in the industry. And one of the biggest challenges in the industry now is when we look at 100,000 transactions on the Toronto Real Estate Board. There's two sides to that. So let's say we get to 200,000 ends in the industry. The challenge is that we have 55,000 agents. So what does that work out to? About 4 per person, right?
On the ends,
so that's a challenge. And what we have to do is we have to look at how can we get our agents to have 20 of those and have a bunch of other people have none. How can we do that? That's basically what my objective is as the broker of record of Century 21 Leading Edge.
Would you like an answer?
I would like an answer, Anthony. I want my agents at Century 21 Leading Edge to have 20 transactions per person, and there's some people that are going to have to do without. So how do we do it?
Well, why don't you put the pressure on opportunities of training and education
Okay.
and how to build your business? Because it's amazing how many people have no idea where they're headed in life. And they aim for it with amazing accuracy. Sorry, I'm like my mom, I repeat myself. Because they don't have the goals, they don't have the training, they don't have the systems. The agents that are doing 20 transactions and some, they do have a system. They do have ways of being trained and wanting to use the system. So I think in order for us to get our agents to have 20 transactions a year on average across the board, they have to, number one, they have to want it, but they should listen to the opportunities of training.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yep. And I think this is the perfect timing to think about that, Anthony, right? So obviously,
When you're planning your goals, is
yeah,
what you're saying?
it's the end of the year. So if you're not as busy as you want to be right now, then you should get yourself busy in planning next year, 100%, right? This is a great time to set your goals. Set up what you're going to do, have that plan in place, have a business plan, right? There's nothing better than having that roadmap. And I think that having a number of just a dollar number is never adequate. You need to know this is how many transactions I'm going to do.
The system.
It equals this many transactions a month, which means this is how many clients I have to equal those transactions, and this is what I'm going to do to get those clients. So when you do the math backwards, it just breaks things down and makes things so much easier. You can't just wake up and think, okay, what am I going to do today? Right? So,
But Tessa, don't you get a lot of people early in the year approaching you saying, well, next year I've increased my goals. And then you ask, how are you going to do it? Well, if it's just in your head, it doesn't. It's a great starting point to say next year I'm going to make $500,000 or $250,000 because every year I'm a good agent, I make 6 digits, but next year I'm making $250,000. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, it's going to happen. Well, it can't just happen, as you mentioned. So have you not been approached quite a bit in the new year?
Yep, and it's part of our meeting tomorrow. So tomorrow's our office meeting at York Mills, and one of the topics is business planning for next year, right? So it's crucial, right? I do it, and I think that us as management, we have our scorecards that we utilize, and it's amazing when you look at that, and you've set goals at the beginning of the year that this is what my increase is going to be, whether it's in number of agents or whatever that the case may be.
Goal.
Then all of a sudden, when you look at it 3 months later, I was supposed to be at this number, and I'm 1/4 into the year, and I don't have a quarter of the number yet. So I better turn the gas on.
Or what
right?
do I need to do to get to that? So
Correct.
you've got to know what you need to do.
Correct.
Absolutely. When you look at a lot of times when we measure things, they get noticed.
100%.
So if we are looking at 20 transactions, it's 1.7.
Yep.
Doing the math in my head there, but about 1.7 a month. So if we're 3 months into the year and we're at 5, we're on track.
Yeah.
If we're at 2,
You're not on
we're
track.
not on track.
Yeah.
So we need to make some adjustments. And I think it is interesting that agents are looking for different results and are not prepared to change what it is that they're doing.
Yeah.
So you have to change your activities in order to get different results. I know that we tried to launch, and I think we've now moved this program to January launch.
Yep, I think 29th, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there.
January. And this is a program on, a lot of times we talk to agents and they talk about, I've got all these things in my life that I've got to sort out before I can get to my real estate business. And, it's interesting is that we all have things going on in our lives, but we need to have a balance. We need to, make a living as we're going through that. So what we've done is we've actually met with Ivy and Rada, a couple of young ladies that are doing a program that is really about figuring out your life so that you can move forward on your business. And, it's something new that we're trying. And we're doing this because we do have so many people that come to us and say, I'll take that when I get this sorted out. Right. I'll take that when I get this sorted out. And the truth is that we were looking for something to help them to get this sorted out. so that they can achieve what they want to achieve in business. And I equally find it amazing that agents have, you talk to them in the Richard Robbins class that I facilitate, and we're talking to them about how many listing appointments they've been on. And when they are asked that question, they think back and, well, I went on 3 this year. Okay, so if your goal is to get 10 listings,
You're not gonna do it
and
with
you've been
3.
on 3 listing appointments, Anthony, I know you're not quick with math, but what do you think? Is that
me
is
get
that
the
possible?
Math
calculator.
does not add up.
Something just doesn't work out. No, even if you got all 3, if
you-
you're short 7, is that how it works?
Yes, yes. So let's even say that you bat 500. You need to go on 20. So we need to break down
The numbers.
Yep.
in order to see what we need to do. The other thing that's interesting, and I really think that 2020 is going to be our perfect vision year. Oh, I just thought of that on the
Oh,
fly.
jeez.
2020, yeah, there
Perfect
you
vision.
go.
2020 going to be our perfect vision year. So what we want to do is we want to take the agents that we've got and just get everybody to sell 2 more houses. If we get everybody at Century 21 Leading Edge to sell 2 more houses, well, that's 1,500 more transactions. 1,500 more transactions. And if we look at that, 1,500 transaction is tens of millions of dollars in commissions. So you want to raise in your business? This is the perfect business to instantly have a raise. And when we look at it, it really is not that difficult to make those changes, right? Now, why I'm sort of saying this to you guys and to our agents out there is that management is going to be on your case to get you enrolled in the programs that we offer.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that the people that do engage what it is that we have
They're
at
doing
Leading
better.
Edge
They're doing it.
are doing more business, right? The challenge is we just need to get them all engaged in it.
Yep.
And that's your guys' job.
Yep.
It's all of our jobs. But 2020 is
Is
going to
the-
be the year of perfect vision. It's going to be the year of setting goals with all of our agents, having our management team call people, find out what they're wanting to accomplish, setting those goals, and moving
So
forward.
can we put this out there, Paul? Is that our official position? 2020, 2 more deals per agent is our company goal.
Yes.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
I like
Absolutely. It's also interesting that a lot of times you look at a business owners and we set our goals.
Yep.
And the truth is that we have 750 agents or 780 agents that work at Century 21 Leading Edge, and really we need to ask them what their goals are.
Yeah.
Right? And we need to talk to them about their goals and help them to get their goals in line with what they should be.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting that people really underachieve, in terms of what could be done. And I look at it as an agent can work full-time in the real estate business and make $70,000 for the year. Another agent can work full-time in the real estate business and make $700,000.
Yeah.
Why would you make 70 if you can make 700? Why would you do that?
Well, it's a very good question.
And the person making 70 is running around like they have no time for anything,
They're
right?
Yeah, swamped.
So it's not a complicated business. We're getting back to a little bit of basics here, but that's probably good to do at the start of the year when we're looking at setting goals and setting some standards. When you look at the basics are you need to be generating a huge amount of leads, and you need way more leads than you have clients, because Rob teaches us 1 in 4 work out, right? So if we want 20, we need 80. It's simple math, right? And if we get 80, 20 will come together, and we're making that 250,000. You're actually 20 transactions, and you're in the top 4% in the industry.
In the industry.
In the Toronto Real
That's
Estate
amazing.
Board. That is just amazing. And there is absolutely no reason that anybody at Leading Edge cannot be in that category. And we have some people that have other jobs, and really not an excuse. you could have another job and you could still do 20 transactions in the real estate industry. We have agents that work full time, and they're doing 20 plus deals, right? In fact, one of them, I asked them, why do you keep the job? And it's interesting that he said to me,
Get the leads
that's
from
where
it."
all my leads come from. Get the leads from, right? So that's a good thing,
Yeah.
right? The other thing that's interesting, I was talking to Sylvia Morris a few years back, and she was coming into December, and she's sort of setting the table for the spring market. So she was getting all these people lined up and sorted out so that when she went into February, she's going into that month with 25, 30 active listings. Anytime you go into a spring market with 25, 30 active listings, it's going to be a good year,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
now is the time to start setting the scene.
Yep.
For the people that start looking for listings in April, it's too late.
You've missed the boat.
Sylvia's already talked to them. You got to get out there
Yeah.
and get on their case.
So true. So true.
Yeah, yeah. What about you, Anthony? What are your goals for 2020?
The goals are to increase the amount of agents that are fortunate to join our company, and that's something that I want to crank up. There's been many years that it's been very good and pretty consistent, but pretty good and pretty consistent is not it. So since 2020 is going to be the year, to crank it up, and at the end of the day, just by picking up the phone a little bit more, and just by communicating a little bit better, and just by following up a little bit better, that's all it is. Sometimes it's just a fine line.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. How about you, Tass? What are your...
I think obviously increasing our agent population, but I think more importantly, increasing our agent population with the right realtors. And by that, I mean realtors that are engaged. And that also includes getting our realtors engaged,
Yeah.
right? Because I have, I think, a good confidence in the fact that we provide, I think, second to none, the best systems out there, right? So if you know that what you provide is the best, then really all you need is realtors that are going to be engaged in it, right? Because if they're engaged and they use the systems, they do the training, they will be successful, right? And not all are going to be engaged. So what I've been trying to do more so is really be a little bit more selective and say, okay, to everybody that's with us, 100% I will support you. You need help, you need goal setting, you need assistance. As long as you're engaged, I will provide anything that I can to assist you. And in terms of new realtors that we're trying to attract, or that I'm trying to attract, it's really looking at that to say, I want engaged people that really, this is their career, this is what they want to do, and they're going to take the help and run with it, right? And not just people that come in that look, oh, are you the cheapest guy in town? No, we're not.
Yeah.
But we're the best, right? And we're also not the most expensive, so it's a pretty good deal.
I think there's also a lot of competition out
Yes.
there in the real estate industry, and that's a lot about what the Trends report
Yep.
was addressing this year. And the thing that I love about competition is that it causes us to up our game.
Yep.
So how do you deal with competition? You actually
Be better.
hone your skills,
Yep.
and you be better, right?
Yep.
And I think that is the other objective for 2020 is to increase our skill set and get our agents producing at a higher level. I'm going to show you guys just a little tool that I just got for myself. I got one for you as well, Anthony.
This is our
and one
Christmas
for you,
present.
Taz. This is your Christmas present.
I have no idea what it is, so go ahead.
So what this is we talked about measuring and what measures gets paid attention to, and we learn from that. So what this device is it's a tool that you put on your desk, okay, and it's got 8 sides. And what happens is that I just got this today, and I saw this when I was down in Texas, and it's a tool that I'm using not to be, Big Brother and monitoring what I'm doing, but looking at what are my efficiencies. So what happens with this, I put this up, and this thing is synced with my desktop. So I've set up that when this side is up, it means that I'm on the phone. When this side is up, it means that I'm doing my podcast.
Right.
So that's why this side is up right now. When I put this side up, it means that I'm doing emails. And what you do is you go out throughout your day, and as you're working, boom, you're gone to lunch, you put it there. You're in a face-to-face meeting, you put it there. So you don't have to go out and write down what it is that you're doing. And this is now electronically tracking what you're spending the time on.
Oh.
And I've only got a day of data, but actually what I'll come and do next month when we do our podcast is I'll give you a summary of how much time I'm taking on lunch, right?
So
But
it kind of breaks it down.
Is there a button there that shows when you're looking for the wine?
Yeah, no.
There really should be.
Yeah,
Where's the bathroom
and
button?
you really you have your lunch button. So lunch and bathrooms break time, right?
Okay.
So the idea is that you decide what those 8 categories are. Now, what I was thinking is that I would get one of these with just 2 sides, right? And one side it's prospecting,
Right.
and the other side it's presenting offers, and then give that to our agents to use. Or for our management team, one side is prospecting for agents, the other side is interviewing agents,
Yeah.
right?
'Cause that's
And
the two
the 2 most important things. So we want to try to look at what we're doing so that we can spend the right amount of time and understand what it is that we're doing. And at Leading Edge, we also like to try to lead from example.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing this myself. I did get you guys one for Christmas. So yours is actually in the car, Tass. Anthony's is on the way. So I will give you that. And let's start monitoring what we're doing. And the reason that we're doing this is so that we can improve. And it is amazing when we look at efficiencies, right? So why an agent can do 700,000 and another does 70 is how they are efficient at what it is that they're doing.
Well, wasn't the old saying in life that we all have the same clock? There's so many hours in a day, and why does one person do 70,000 a year and one do 700,000? All these points you're making up,
Yeah.
not making up, or at least speaking reality,
Yeah.
but we all have the same clock. We all have the same time. What you do during those hours is a direct proportion of the end result. And not that I use that in training, but certainly if you're speaking either to a newbie or an agent that's existing, we all have the same clock.
Yeah.
It's the same 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, noon, and 5 o'clock in the afternoon for all of us. But what do you do in that time period?
100%.
Anyways,
And that's what this tool is all about. So Anthony, we're
was just in my head,
gonna
but-
find out what it is that you're doing
better not be a
on
whole lot
a
of nothing.
on a day-to-day basis. And this is a tool that again we're using to try to
monitor,
to
see
try
where
to
your
try to
strengths are,
self-inflection
weaknesses, or where
and
can
look
you
at
do- where can you do better?
You ask somebody, how much time do you spend on email? How much time do you spend on social media?
Yeah.
Right? How much time do you spend on that? Now, these are things that when you use this tool, you can start to look at that and say, hey, I got no business from social media. Maybe you did. And I'm spending, 20% of my time on it. That's a problem.
Yeah.
So you need to adjust. So I'm going to have this out to our management team. We're going to get this out to our accounting staff, to our lead gen staff, and we're going to start to look at helping everybody to get better. And they sell an unlimited number of those.
But how do you know what to put on it? Like some of it.
Oh, they give you stickers, I guess, right?
Yeah, you get stickers. They give you a pen. You can write on it what it is that you're doing. You basically set it up, and the stickers that they give you is hundreds of stickers, right? So not sure what they all mean.
So
but
it's clean when you get it.
It's clean when you get it, and you put it on there
But
yourself.
how do you know? How is it monitored though, if you just put a sticker on it?
No,
it's
you
true.
you
So,
you
okay.
just decide. You decide what, you're. Yeah.
I spend time on accounting. right? And
'Cause they wouldn't need
reviewing
all that.
deals, doing payroll, right? So I put a little $ on there. And when you set this device up, you turn the device like this. You are dealing with your desktop,
Okay.
and you say add. And it says that this is up. This is turned on. It's powered. There's a button to turn it on. Okay. And you put it up, and then you say this is accounting functions, and then it syncs with the what's up.
'Cause whatever's
And then
up is
and
what
then
it is.
yeah, and then you turn it like this, and then you say add, and you say this means I'm on the phone. So you set up what it is that they're there, right? And if you find after a couple of weeks that you got the wrong things there, or you want to amalgamate some things and put some other things on there, you can change it, right? And you can color code it, and it gave me a whole screen, but I have 1 day of data. So it's my new toy, but I think that it's something that is worthwhile. So I'm looking forward to using it. So we've all got an empty glass. So I'm going to pour the third wine for you guys, which is a Côte d'Rône. So this is right beside the Châteauneuf-du-Pape region, and it's the same grape varieties as is in a Châteauneuf-du-Pape. So a lot of our agents really love the Châteauneuf-du-Pape. I haven't tried this one yet myself. I drank a
That's
few of the...
because they know you love the Châteauneuf-du-Pape.
Well, I love the Châteauneuf-du-Pape as well.
Now, this is the third year, though.
This is 2022 is what this one's earmarked for, right? And this one is a 2016. Is that what that says?
Correct.
2016. So it needs a little bit of time to be ready, but we can give it a go.
Why are you interrupting the podcast?
Hey, what, tiptoe through the tulips.
How you doing, Bantu? We're just doing a podcast, and you're welcome as long as you're turning in a deal. Is that what you're doing?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, all good.
And it's firm, if anybody wants
And it's firm. Okay.
We wanted to hear that. Good job.
That's good. That's good. So what do you guys think of the Côte d'Rône?
I don't know, I didn't try it. No one else.
So it has a bit of a barn smell, if I'm catching that.
Yeah, it's definitely, if you put the nose to it, you can smell it even before drinking it a little bit better than compared to the other ones.
Well, it's a completely different grape variety. So we got Sangiovese and then a blend in the first
The
one.
taste doesn't seem to match the nose, if that makes sense, right? Yeah. The taste is good, but I think the aroma of it at first seems a little bit off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what we're going to do is that we will retaste the Sorlapo and the Côte d'Rône next year to see how they're evolving and if they're ready for the party. Okay.
I think the second one so far for me is my favorite. So I'm really looking forward to the 2020 party.
There you go.
There you are.
There you go. And I actually bought a few extra of those.
Yeah, there you go. That's good.
I've got a few to.
It's
have
very
along
good.
the way.
It's very good.
Nice. So what I think that we're going to do now is if we can call on Steve. Are you there, Steve?
I'm here.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if we had any questions from our audience.
Have some questions. Let me get jacketed up. So the first one, I think you guys were actually covering already, but it was in regards to REBA 2002.
Yeah.
And basically some of the questions that you guys or some of the changes that you guys are anticipating or most excited for. Maybe some of the things that are currently we're running into that are just especially outdated about the REBA 2002.
From the realtor's perspective, what the agents I think are most excited about is the ability to incorporate.
Right. Okay. And what about from a consumer perspective? I'm actually not sure who wrote in that question. Which side of the coin that they're
Yeah.
on?
So I think from the consumer perspective, I think the idea of the increased fines and looking to hold the industry more accountable, right?
Better transparency, I think.
Better transparency, and then that's what the Real Estate Council of Ontario is all about.
Right.
And it's interesting that the industry, right, in Ontario is currently self-regulated.
Right.
And unfortunately, in other provinces like BC, where they stumbled on that, they've changed that. So they've brought in not the industry to regulate itself, but they've brought in third party to regulate. And that's because of the fact that there was just too many transactions that were troublesome and too much trickery going on.
Right.
And we need to pay attention and be involved in the act so that we do regulate ourselves properly and we weed out the bad eggs so that we have a better industry. And it's better for the consumer, it's better for the agents. We definitely want to have those people weeded out.
That's perfect. That's perfect. And I think it's funny because a bunch of these questions you guys had actually touched on. One person wrote in talking about that they had heard concerns of recession / market crash, or recession resulting in a market crash, and wanted to hear the thoughts of your.
Just have them call Anthony, please. You already heard what 2020 is going to be.
5, 7, and again, just to reiterate on the things that we talked about there, is that you got to look at where do you get your information from. So when you look at media and the way it works, is they like to sensationalize headings, right? And I remember one heading where one agent was concerned that she was going to be in business because they want to put something that draws attention in a headline and there's no substance behind it. So we need to look at who is saying that. And again, in the stock industry, a lot of times the stock industry likes to tell us what they think is going to happen in the real estate industry, and a lot of times it's jaded to try to swing business to the stock industry. So we have 3 factors. We have a undersupply of real estate. We have increased population growth in Southern Ontario. Yeah. And we have a good job market, we have a healthy economy, and they are talking about the economy slowing. Yeah. But even with that, there is so much pent-up demand for real estate in the GTA that I don't anticipate a downturn in the real estate market.
Oh, agreed.
Okay?
And sorry.
No, because I always, I don't like to say I'm trying to put humor into it, but I'll let you go to the next question. But when you look just south of the border, you've got your Republicans, you got your Democrats, you got Fox, and you got CNN. So depending who you're listening to,
You get two totally different versions.
one completely different story compared to the other. So as Paul mentioned, in a very professional manner, it depends on the who you hear it from in the news.
Right. And also, I think that you need to look at the fact that there is different perspectives to everything, right? And there are things that are not within our control that can affect things, right? And if we had a stock market crash,
Something happens that we're
the
not
real
aware
estate market would probably go down. So there are things
beyond
that
our
can
control.
that are beyond our control that can affect it. But when we look at
stage
how do
is
we
set.
make decisions,
Yeah.
we make it based on the
current
fundamentals,
stage,
right? And where things are now.
And also, I feel like on the long-term repercussions of that decision. So, as an example, if you're trying to get into the real estate market to make money in the next 6 months, maybe kind of a risky move. If you're trying to go in and make money over the next 20 years, probably the most sound investment you can possibly make.
And if you look at the real estate industry over any long period of time, right? You always have an increase, right? And you don't really need to time the market right. So the other thing that's interesting is that sometimes people say to a real estate agent, "Is it a good time to buy?" And the standard answer for a real estate agent is yes. I strongly disagree with that statement. It depends on what are you trying to accomplish. Are you buying a property to live in? Are you currently paying rent? And is this an alternative? Are you buying it as an investment? It's not always a good time to be investing in real estate, right? But there's different factors. So I think that we need to have a professional realtor needs to look at the client's circumstances and then advise them on what's best to do. And I always look at, and if you buy right, then
It's
that
always-
doesn't really matter, right? So buying right doesn't matter, but you need to look at all of those factors for sure.
All right, excellent. And then the another question that we got here, and I just want to see what time we're at right now. Yeah, we're at an hour right now, so that's pretty good. So someone follows the podcast, watches it every month to basically stay up to date on the month-over-month market trends, and they wanted to ask how 2019 fared just as a whole. I think they're always catching the kind of month-to-month updates, and they just wanted to hear about the 2019 snapshot as a whole. So do you guys have any comments on that? I know not all the numbers are in yet.
Sure. So I think that what we'll do is we'll do our first podcast in January, and we'll get the actual numbers for 2019 and give you an update. My estimate is that we have a 10% increase in productivity, number of transactions from the previous year. That would be my estimate. And we have about a 5 to 6% increase in value at least, right? So we will compare that to the actual numbers in January.
And did you want me to ask that first-time homebuyer?
Yeah, I know that you had talked to us about this question that came in, and go ahead and ask it, and then we'll tell you how we're going to deal with it.
Okay, so this person was asking, talking about the first-time homebuyer incentive program, the loan that you can now that you can now receive to basically assist in buying a home, and they just want some additional clarity and information on that.
Yeah. And you know what we always like to do as a management team is when we don't know the answer to something, we like to call in an expert. So I'd like to ask Steve, who has done some research on that, to take a chair right here. Okay. Well, welcome to the podcast.
Want to sit here?
Guys, thank you so much. It's a pleasure
Would you like to
be
sit
here.
in the hot seat?
I'm gonna need to borrow your mic anyway, so I'll just pop it off from you. But hey, thanks so much, guys. I appreciate that.
Just pop that off and give us your skinny on
This is nice. Here, I'll just hold it. It's all. I'll just stand here. Mix, are we in? We're in shot. We're good here.
Now we are. Perfect.
So, yeah. So basically, cool program. I think people thought it was going to be a bit more of a game changer than it actually than it actually is. But there's going to be certain situations where it can help. I'm going to go very, very high level with a few different points on this, just to give you a little bit of clarity on it. But it's very circumstantial. It's a very case-by-case basis. So probably the best advice, if you have a question about it or you think it might be something that you are interested in and something that you would qualify for, probably the best advice would be to get in touch with Capital Lending Center.
Yeah.
Talk to one of the great mortgage agents at Capital Lending Center. They should be able to walk you through that process and get you up to speed and find out whether you qualify for that or what other options are actually available. The key points for you to know about that: number one, they will give you a loan of up to 5 to 10% depending on the circumstances of the transaction. The other thing to keep in mind is that this is a loan. It's not a giveaway. They're not giving you money. They're loaning you money. And the third point on that is they're going to own a portion of your house until that money is paid back. So essentially the situation is, if you qualify for it, you can qualify for 5 to 10%. After that point, they will own a stake in your home. And when the home is sold, from the appreciation that you ideally get on it, that money will have to be paid back. Other than that, for additional, more granular details on it, my best advice would be get in touch with your mortgage broker, or if you don't have one, get in touch with Capital Lending Center and one of their great agents, and I'm sure they'll be able to walk you through the process.
And just to add to that, Steve, in terms of the stake, if that's what they're wondering, it's basically if they're lending you 5%, they have a 5% equity stake in the house. So if you sell the house for $200,000 more, 5% of that 200,000 is going to the government, right? As well as the original 5% that
So they're getting into the real estate business.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And that's a really interesting point, Paul, because the government has earmarked billions of dollars for this. This is not a joke, right? So the government now is partnered with everybody in the real estate industry. So guess what? They have a vested interest in the real estate market doing well because now they have an ownership position. So things like policies in real estate, guess what? There's a interest in them having the market go up now, right? So I think that's an interesting point to take.
I think,
right?
and again, just from my memory, part of it is that if somebody was a little light in their down payment, so they may have 5% available, but they want to put a larger down payment. My understanding, and again, this is to be clarified, is that if the mortgage company or the government has stepped in to say, you've got 5% down, no you don't, you have 15% down, or you have 10% down. So that extra 5 or 10% is sort of like increasing your down payment. So their theory is it helps you to get a little bit smaller of an original mortgage, so the payments are a little bit less, and you have the benefit when you do sell, you've got to pay back what they gave you. But that's what my understanding was. So for certain people, it would make a lot of sense, and it's not carte blanche for everyone, but knowing that information, that you have a very tight or minimal down, that this will allow you to put a bigger down payment.
Right.
Is that correct?
No, that's it. And I think the key takeaway on this, once again, it's a loan. They're not giving you anything. It's basically a business transaction where they are going to own a stake of your house, and that money will be paid back. There's no other option on that. So might be helpful to help some first time home buyers get into the market. But at the same time, don't think they're doing you some major favor. This is a business transaction. It will be treated accordingly.
So I don't know anything about it myself, but Daniels Corporation had a similar opportunity with the Regent Park development that they did. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm certain that there's no interest or payment on that amount that's owed. It is paid back on the sale of the house. And when Daniels did this, if you had to own or occupy the property, right? So similar thing. And is there a point in time that if you own the property for, let's say, 20 years, that is forgiven? Or is there anything, because Daniels had that type of a program where as long as you own or occupied, you didn't have to pay it back. And if you stayed in the property for 20 years or more, it was written off by the government.
No, there's no forgiveness, Paul. And even if you're selling, because this was one of the questions that came up when we had CLC talk to us about this, if let's say actually you're not selling, let's say that you say, hey, I want to pay it off and I want to own my house 100%, then the house will get appraised at that point, and you will have to pay them their 5 or 10% based on the value at that time.
Okay.
So there is no.
Not just the dollar amount that they.
No. You have to pay on the appreciated.
Interest, but you're paying on the appreciated.
But you also don't pay if it depreciates, right? So that's where the kicker is, right? So that's why I say there's some serious vested interest here, right? So if the market goes down, then that 5% that the government lent you is eroding, right?
The likelihood of that happening, because they're going to be basically not set up a program that they're going to lose. They've set it up realizing that, we lent you 5%, we lent you 10%, plus the appreciated amount to be a 5%.
They wouldn't be putting this kind of money behind something if they felt that real estate is going to bomb, Anthony. Exactly. That's my entire point.
Doesn't it always go up, Anthony?
It sure does.
In 2020, it does 5 to 7%.
There you go.
So according to Anthony and Tassus.
No, I'm just quoting Anthony. I'm quoting him.
I'm eternally optimistic.
I think he might be right. I think he might be right.
Thank you very much, Steve,
Thank you
for
very much,
coming in and
guys.
give us some insight on that. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Interrupt again and steal some more wine. I'm just,
There you go.
saying.
Perfect.
Anytime. Would you like to try the Côte d'Aron? Where's your glass?
Right over here. Thank you so much.
I'll give you a little teaser of that one. Tass says it smells a little bit like barnyard, but the nose, the taste doesn't follow the nose.
Am I correct, Paul? I consider myself a severe amateur, but I just say what I sense, and then I look to Paul to see if I'm correct. Right? Am I smelling or tasting this correctly? I do believe that whatever you like,
Absolutely.
right? So whether a wine is expensive or not, when we do our wine tastings, I always really try to kind of figure out, oh yeah, this is the one that I like the most,
There you go.
right? Regardless of
I went
value.
in October, I went to New York to my wine tasting event. I don't think we've done a podcast since then, have we?
I don't believe so. I think you were about to go.
Okay.
I think we should
So-
do one in New York.
Yeah, so I tried.
And Florida we have booked sometime as well.
I tried 160 wines over that 3-day event.
Thin
and
amounts.
you
don't drink
some of it I drank, but a lot of it you have to spit out, otherwise you would be not able to function. And I would say that it was 160 great wines. Wow. Now I did try a 1982 in a vertical tasting of 6 years of a Chateau Pichon-Lalande, which is a second growth Bordeaux that I happen to really love. And we tried a 1982 of that. And was that a beautiful wine? So I'm trying to see if I can source enough of that for 2023 for the
Better start sourcing.
I gotta source it. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoy that event. So it was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to Friday and having to have everybody out there to taste some wine and have a little bit of a celebration and enjoy what we've accomplished and look forward to what we can accomplish in our perfect vision year,
Like in
2020. Yeah. On that note, do we have any other questions, Steve, or are we good?
That was it for the questions. Yeah.
Okay, I think that we're gonna sign off, and we'll see you guys in 2020 in the new year.
All right,
I'm Paul Barron, broker of record, Century 21 Leading Edge. Thanks for watching throughout the year, and we look forward to doing more podcasts next year.
And I'm Tassus Giannakakis. Cheers, and thank you very much for joining us on our podcast, and I look forward to podcasting some more next year.
Anthony Bungaro, it's always a pleasure, and I like sharing and also learning at the same time. Cheers. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Cheers, guys. And thanks very much to Vendetta Media for the amazing job that they do publishing our podcast. So thanks,
Cheers, guys.